In this video, we are going to talk about top 10 largest castles in the world. The word castle is connected with visions of strong walls, fortified towers, hilltop settings, and fairy tales. Most castles were built throughout the Middle Ages, as palaces and fortified cities by the nobles and royalty. Usually, they cover a vast area due to their walls, moats, and fortifications. While most of the largest castles in the world are in Europe, there are numerous others distributed throughout the world. Our list of the 10 largest castles in the world provides you a deeper insight into these enormous constructions that hold the title of being the largest castle in the world. Often confused between the phrases castle and palace, there is a significant contrast between the two. While both are usually large royal homes, the defenses in a castle tell them different. With the arrival of artillery and cannons, towards the end of the Middle Ages, the military relevance of castles began to wane. From being fortifications to keep out the enemy, they metamorphosed into stately palaces and emblems of power. Here are the top 10 largest castles in the world. So let's start. Number 10. Edinburgh Castle, Scotland. No trip to Edinburgh is complete without seeing this massive castle perched atop the Castle Rock, an extinct volcano's plug. This massive rock stands 130 meters above sea level. One of the world's largest castles, surrounded by jagged cliffs, appears impregnable. A castle on Castle Rock was originally mentioned in an 11th century chronicle by John Fordun. King David I spent much of the 12th century in Edinburgh. By the end of the 12th century, Edinburgh Castle held the majority of Scotland's official state documents. During the 13th and early 14th centuries, the castle was briefly held by the English. During King James II's reign, the castle's expansion and building continued. Crown Square, the Great Hall, and royal residences were created during this time. The castle has been expanded and attacked over the years. The castle has been besieged at least 26 times throughout its 1100-year history. St. Margaret's Chapel, built in the early 12th century, is the only surviving early construction. The castle's ruins cover 35,737 square meters. Edinburgh Castle is currently Scotland's most visited paid site. A local's perspective is one of the finest ways to observe a city's prominent sites. A private tour of the castle with a local will likely reveal untold tales. Number 9. Citadel of Aleppo, Syria. The Citadel of Aleppo, considered the world's largest castle, is located in northern Syria. The hill on which the castle is built has been occupied since the 3rd millennium BC. The Ayyubid period is responsible for the majority of what is left of the citadel today. Under the reign of Seleucus I Nicator, an infantry general in Alexander the Great's army, it was eventually taken over by the Romans. The fortress, on the other hand, shows little evidence of either the Roman or Muslim periods. Within the compound, Sultan Ghazi built a palace, but it burned down on his wedding night. It was later reconstructed and now serves as a magnificent fortress monument. The current building is the result of centuries of restorations and alterations by numerous monarchs. The citadel has a height of 50 meters and a surface area of 39,804 square meters. Number 8. Himeji Castle, Japan. This Japanese castle is one of the world's largest. The Himeji Castle is a UNESCO World Heritage Site with 83 buildings on 265 acres. It's Japan's largest and best-preserved samurai stronghold, and the best-preserved classic Japanese castle. Himeji Castle, often known as the White Heron Castle, because to its likeness to a bird in flight, was built in 1333. Originally, a fort stood where the castle presently stands. In 1346, it was demolished to make space for the castle. A 3-story castle keep was added to the castle 2 centuries later. After the Sekigahara battle in 1600, Ikeda Terumasa dismantled the keep. He reconstructed the castle and made it what it is today. Himeji Castle is a woodworker's dream. This fortified place was never assaulted. It even outlasted the Meiji period, which destroyed many of Japan's palaces. The palace withstood 2 world wars and the 1995 earthquake. A traditional tea ceremony can be enjoyed in a kimono on the castle's grounds. Number 7. Buda Castle, Hungary. The huge Buda Castle is on the southern edge of Budapest's Castle Hill. Várnagyd, a popular tourist destination, surrounds it. Taking a tour of Buda Castle's medieval streets is a terrific way to learn more about this remarkable monument. The current building dates from the 18th century. King Bela IV of Hungary is credited with building the first royal house on Castle Hill in the 13th century. This castle, however, is no longer visible. The current palace was built on the foundations of a Romanesque-style castle built by King Lajos in 1356. It was replaced as Europe's grandest palace 4 decades later by a grander Gothic-style palace. The new palace, however, did not last long, as it was demolished and replaced by a Renaissance palace. The palace was abandoned once the Turks invaded and conquered Hungary, and it finally fell into ruin. When Hungary was reclaimed, the Habsburgs opted to construct a smaller Baroque-style palace, which was also damaged. The current castle may not be as ornate as its predecessors, but the 300-meter-long complex along the Danube is still quite impressive. The entire castle complex, which now houses several museums, is 44,647 square meters in size. Number 6. Spis Castle, Slovakia. The Spis Castle in Slovakia, which is one of the largest medieval castles in Central Europe, is another Hungarian castle with an amazing 49,485 square meters. The bulwarks and thick defensive walls were built to protect the Hungarian rulers in the 12th century. It was also the Kingdom of Hungary's main administrative center. The castle was passed down through the centuries to numerous great families, before being given to Czechoslovakia in 1945. The castle was destroyed in the 12th century, but it was replaced with a new Romanesque stone castle, with walls in the second half of the 13th century. The new complex also included a 2-story Romanesque palace, and a 3-nave Romanesque Gothic basilica. The territory of the castle was increased when an adjoining town was added in the 14th century. The castle underwent another Gothic refurbishment in the second part of the 15th century. It became a venue for upper-class balls and social gatherings during this period. Since the threat of attack had passed, it had become more of an elegant mansion than a fortification. A fire in 1780 nearly put the castle out of business, but a big restoration in the 1970s brought it back to life. The castle is now one of Slovakia's most popular tourist attractions. Number 5. Hohensalzburg Castle, Austria. On Festungsberg, high above the city, stands Salzburg's famous castle. The castle is one of the world's largest at 54,523 square meters. In 1077, Archbishop Gebhard von Helfenstein ordered a bailey with a timber wall. The castle grew after Helfenstein and Henry IV fell out. The fortress became larger over time. Prince Archbishop Burkhard II von Weispriach added ring walls and towers in 1462. Prince Archbishop Leonard of Kuchach transformed the castle. The external bastions were built in the 16th century to stave off Turkish invasion. Only once, during the German Peasants' War in 1525, was it besieged and never conquered. The castle used as a storage depot and barracks in the 19th century. A late 19th century renovation turned the abandoned castle into a prominent tourist destination. A performance at the fortress combined with a cruise and dinner is a fantastic opportunity to experience this ancient masterpiece. Number 4. Windsor Castle, England. Windsor Castle is one of the Queen of England's 3 royal residences, and is thought to be the world's largest habitable castle. This vision of towers and battlements, which spans an area of 54,835 square meters, attracts hundreds of visitors throughout the year. The castle is divided into 3 sections: the lower, middle, and upper wards. A free guided tour is available to familiarize visitors with the layout. Some locations are off-limits at all times, especially when the Queen is in residence. To signal her presence, the royal standard flies from the Round Tower. The fortress, which was completed in 1080, was afterwards rebuilt in stone by Henry I in 1170. Each monarch added their own embellishments to the castle over the years, incorporating Gothic and Baroque characteristics. After centuries of renovation, the castle was transformed into a large 1,000-room structure with a variety of architectural styles. Number 3. Prague Castle, Czech Republic. Despite the fact that Prague Castle is listed in the Guinness Book of Records as the world's largest castle, another European castle takes the top rank in terms of land area. However, Prague's most popular attraction is a massive 66,761 square meters, about 7 football fields in size. From its magnificent perch on the left bank of the Vltava River, the fairy-tale-like fortress of the 9th century looks down on the city. The castle has served as the seat of the Czech kings, and the formal residence of the head of state since its founding. There is a lot to see in the area surrounding the castle, and taking a walking tour is a wonderful option. Combine a tour of the old town with learning everything there is to know about one of the world's largest castles. The Church of the Virgin Mary, the castle's first walled structure, dates from 870. Other structures followed suit. A Gothic-styled palace replaced the first Romanesque palace, of the 12th century under Charles IV in the 15th century. However, a fire in 1541 destroyed much of the fortress. The Habsburgs constructed additional Renaissance-style buildings during the renovation. Empress Maria Theresa completed the most recent substantial restoration of the fortress in the 18th century. Almost every architectural type from the past millennium may be found within the massive castle complex today. This huge castle currently houses museums and galleries in addition to historic structures. Number 2. Mehrangarh Fort, India. Near terms of architecture and size, this impenetrable Rajasthani fort in Jodhpur, India, is a masterpiece. Mehrangarh fits into the base of the cliff, rising 120 meters above Jodhpur's skyline. The palaces and constructions that make up this huge 81,227 square meter complex put it in the category of an Indian castle, despite the fact that it is technically classified as a fort. The fort was built in the mid-15th century by Rao Jodha, the founder of Jodhpur city, and is now run by the Jodhpur royal family. Though Rao Jodha started construction, Jaswant Singh of Marwar is credited with much of the fort's current appearance. Some of the most exquisite Rajasthani palaces are housed within the fort's strong walls. If you're looking for a rush, take a ride over to Mehrangarh Fort to see the city from a different perspective. The old fort is rife with stories. One of the most popular is the one that involves laying the foundation, and displacing the hill's solitary human tenant, a hermit. Despite numerous requests, the powerful hermit originally refused to leave this location. The fort is entered through a succession of 7 gates. The final gate, Loha Pole, is equipped with iron spikes to deter the enemy's elephants. The heartbreaking handprints of the royal widows who immolated themselves on their husband's funeral pyre may be seen just inside the gate. Number 1. Malbork Castle, Poland. The Teutonic Order's Malbork Castle is the world's largest castle by land area. It's also Europe's largest brick building. The complex's developed area is 143,591 square meters beside the Nagat River. After its completion in the 13th century, it housed the Teutonic Knights for about 150 years. Marienburg, Mary's fortress, was built in stages, starting with the High Castle. Then came the middle and lower castles. It used to hold 3,000 knights. The Polish army captured the castle in 1457. The castle then became the home of Polish rulers visiting the area for 3 centuries. The castle's collapse began with the Swedish invasions and the Polish partitions in 1772. The Prussians seized control and made it a barracks. They demolished much of the ancient edifice to build barracks. In the 19th century, the government protected the castle and restored it. The Marienburg was damaged during World War II, but renovations brought it back to its former beauty. What do you think of our list? Which castle do you like from above list? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoy this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.